All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of River City 93. This is your host, as always, Elliot Barr. It is joining me is a man that always have great conversations with Derek Solowski. It's Mr. Matt Myers. I just keep laughing back. Like, I think like the last few times we've done it with Derek, like there's been like a little hostile, but they're fun and I love them. I just love them. Hey, Matt.
How you doing? What's so funny?
For listeners, don't know, we'll talk about the interview with Darren near the end, but it was kind of interesting what's happened. But yeah, I mean, we already know what it is. This team's right now is not in great form at all. 14 game winless streak, not losing streak, 14 game winless streak. There are, I think, what, in a 4-game losing streak right now. So
yep, one for the thumb next week.
Yep, one for the thumb. We are officially, because of results as well, we can't even get the wooden spoon trophy. So it's not like we can get a trophy to kind of, if we're going to be bad, I want a trophy to show why we're bad.
Even in the dark years at the end of the championship era, never finished dead last.
Yeah, no.
There was always Toronto or Orlando around. To be able to keep us from holding everybody up on our shoulders.
Right. So this is the second time only in our League One history that one will finish outside of the playoff race, but we've also been eliminated from the playoff race by August.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So, like, we've been in this league now for 5 years. We've been in the playoffs or in and around the playoffs
twice.
3. Yeah.
No, you can't count. You can't count 2020 because that team tanked it at the end of the year. And if they or just won that last game, maybe the final would have actually happened because Omaha wouldn't have COVIDed out.
Right. And also, if you had the original playoff format, we would have been in. So I count 2020, but I get what you're saying. But yeah, like the years in which there's 2 years in which we have bottomed out, 2019 and this year. And yeah, I mean, we might as well go ahead. I think we kind of pick up the same points that we did last week of talking about like who stood out to this. So we're not just having a massive complaint fest. Because
I will say this. We'll get to that for the postseason.
Yeah, we'll save that for then. I think everyone wants to be there for that show. The first player I would say is Mr. Willie Palmquist. And I think I put it, I definitely put it in that chat. I even put it on Twitter. Like, this is the game that proves to me that he deserves a hard look at the number 1 spot. He looked comfortable in his saves. Oh, yeah, my fault. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I thought you were done. That's all.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, like, he looked very comfortable in his saves. Like, the PK, once again, there's nothing he can do about that. It's a PK. It's not designed to help goalkeepers, but he made, I think right before that, he made 2 great back-to-back saves. He made multiple to the other saves. He looked great in his distribution. Something I think that's probably the only knock you might have against him is that he doesn't have the distribution ability of Akira. But outside of that, man, like he stood on his head and he played amazing.
Yeah, I think that was probably his best performance for the team thus far. Again, nothing you can do on the penalty. I mean, Sterling's like the one English player in the world who actually knows how to hit a penalty well. So, what can you do there? But yeah, he probably had at least 3 or 4, kind of plus saves, not just saves that you would expect somebody to make. and you can still see room for growth, with him too. Like there's a little bit of room, to be able to control some rebounds better. But one of the things early in the year when we saw him in some of those games that I was worried about was his performance in the air. And he had a couple times where he was able to get out and really grab crosses. And there was one, I think it was a corner where he was able to get a really good fist on it and punch it, a good 20, 25 yards clear. So I've seen that progression, and seeing how he's been progressing there, just overall, and talking with him post game, working with Akira, he feels has helped him quite a bit over the year, because I was a little curious. I
Yeah,
think it's got to be weird where your coach is also your competitor, for the spot, but he seems to have liked it so far, minus the results this year, of course. Uh,
yeah,
seemed to really enjoy working with Akira, and feels he's grown a lot as a keeper, and I think you know, got to agree with that.
Mhm. Yeah. No, honestly, I mean, this is the stat line from his game: like 5 out of 6 saves, 6 recoveries. He was accurate on 25% of his passes. Now, Matt, you are right. Like the thing that he could improve on, maybe so, is those accurate long balls. He only made 33% of them, 2 out of 6. But this kicker team isn't a team that goes long a whole bunch, so I'm not so much worried about it. Versus like Pablo, who was like 11 of 22. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
11 of 20. Because
it's not a
they
kickers team where
enter.
the keeper goes long.
Yeah, right. So I mean, the most important thing, he had 4 saves inside of the box. So I mean, if you're Darren, Mika, and Connor, I I don't see how. I mean, obviously you're gonna get other looks at goalkeepers, right? Being real about it, but I think Will Palmquist will be the easiest one to be like, hey, he deserves a hard look at his #1 spot next year.
If he wants it.
That's true. That's very much true. I hope he wants it. I hope he wants to be the next in the lineage. Because once again, I still have my reservations if Akira's our #1 goalkeeper next year. But we'll save that for the postseason pod.
Mhm.
Second player, Matt, you shouted him out, Beckett Howe. Once again, 18-year-old youngster gets to start at that left back spot. What do you think about his performance? How he played?
Yeah, I think he's doing a good job of being solid back there. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's not, we talked about this last time. He's not going to be, the dynamic, busting forward left back yet that we've seen, Hornsby be this year, that we saw Stu, be, last year. Right now he's a little bit more of a, stay at home, kind of guy, and I think that's okay
Mm-hmm.
at this point in time. But he's been able to use his body well. He matched up well against Kale and Koto a couple of times during the game, and really more than almost anything else this time of the year, he's not making a critical mistake. And with how these last 3 months are gone, just doing your job right, is just, the godsend.
Yeah. No, honestly, like doing your job is probably the best thing you can do right now at this point. And I mean, it speaks to something when you're an 18-year-old and you're getting starting minutes over like guys that are older than you and whatnot. Like you're an academy kid and
Mhm.
the coach is looking at you is like, all right, hey, look, you're gonna get this start. You're gonna play me for minutes.
Yeah,
And
and you think back to like the first couple times we saw him, like the Cleveland Open Cup game and a couple of the sporadic minutes where there's like, all right, well, we can probably throw him in here for 5 minutes and it won't hurt us too bad or
yeah,
anything. But yeah, at least for me, I'm willing to trust him at left back right now.
yeah. Me too. I mean, towards the end of this season, yeah, I don't see anything worse coming out of it with him starting. I'm fine with him there. Do you have anyone else that stood out to you?
Yeah, so I think when we saw the lineups come out, we were all a little surprised because when we first see how it's structured, none of those apps are ever remotely close to accurate. They have stuff like Howell playing right wing and all
Yeah,
kinds of
it was.
wacky
It
stuff.
had Richmond in a 3-4-3, and I was like, "That's
Yeah,
not gonna happen."
we all knew that wasn't going to be true, right? But it's trying to figure out, all right, what's actually going to be though. It's like are they going to move Beckett inside and play him, center back and move Hornsby back? Like, how's this playing out? Because Alney looked like the only center back at first,
Yeah,
but
he did.
turns out Zaka was playing, center back, and I was a little skeptical, at first, with that, and especially, he picked up his Zaka Memorial yellow card 3 minutes into the game. After that, I liked it there. I liked seeing, him there. He was. I think it gave him, more time to be able to, help organize, everyone because I don't know if we've really had that vocal organizer, you know, in our center back pairing so far. Like, I don't know if that's Dakota or Ani's bread and butter. Sort of,
Yeah.
I think they're both obviously capable, center backs, but that's something that's either a natural thing for you or it's not. I really believe that. And he was able to step in and make some really strong tackles and be able to make sure that he popped up in the right space at the right time to thwart quite a few Tormento attacks in that first half. And then the second half, he moved back to the midfield. Chandler came in, at center back. But that first half, I liked what Zaka brought to the table as a defender.
I did too, and I think also like this was my original thought that like Suko would be the one to like I thought Suko was brought in to be the Zaka replacement of sorts, like or work beside Saka. I thought Suko had an excellent. I'm not gonna say excellent. I thought he had a good first half. Like from the parts that I did see, he looked live. He looked like willing to shut down space. He had some dangerous shots, although no one on target. He looked like he was doing what was required for him to do in that spot. Now,
Yeah,
why he was taken
he
off
got
in the
into a
second
good.
half?
Yeah, he got into a good spot, and
Yeah,
shot needs to be remotely close to goal if you get that wide open.
true. That's true. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, while he was taken off at the start of the second half, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know
But no, but yeah, I mean Zaka though, like, yeah, why not? If we got the walking wounded at center back, Dakota probably being out for the rest of the year. I don't think we're going to see Cole again, this year.
why. I
That
don't think
gives
so
what
either.
Chandler and not much else as an option.
Right. Chandler, Beckett, Meacham.
And I don't know what those guys have as center back experience.
No. Oh,
I mean, I guess
you're talking about strictly center back.
yeah,
Beckham, Chandler, Ani. That's
pinch Simon
probably.
in maybe.
I feel like if he was going to do it, he would have already done it,
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
he hasn't pulled that yet.
That's fair.
Because if any logical stuff, you would have been like, all right, let me do that now. Now, maybe not, but I do also feel, yeah, I do also feel as if like when you're looking at this defense, like this is something that we pointed out. We were talking in the preseason of like the defensive depth of this team is a worrying sign, and it's showing its ugly head from injuries or just the lack of just depth to give guys a break. It's showing its head.
Yeah, I mean that's part and parcel of having shorter rosters now at the CBA.
Yeah,
That you're leaning on teenagers and you're having to pick your spots. Uh, we can talk about more on the postseason one of where you allocate your roster spots, but
yeah,
we don't need to
yeah.
dip back into that again today.
No, we won't. But also, man, I want to give a big shout out to the Red Army and the fans. 6,000 people there at that stadium in the midst of a 14-game winless streak is insane. It's
Yeah,
insane, man.
good atmosphere, in the crowd. Parking lots were filling up nice and early, like usual. Uh, yeah, I'll always wish that more people would make it down into the stands, and not in the concourse. That just way when you look back at the game, you don't see as many patchy spots, and that whole
Yeah,
center seat, you know, issue that again has come up plenty of times. It just looks bad on TV. Uh, but yeah, I mean, credit to the community, credit to the front office for keeping the sales going, keeping the energy up in the community throughout the year. Like the guys, I know are getting out there and doing appearances. I had a talk with some folks after the game. I was like, make it more widely known that they're doing these sort of things because they were saying that they posted all on all the socials, and I was like, I don't think I'm seeing maybe I'm not on the right social medias, but I'm not seeing
Yeah, I don't know
these
what
guys making
social.
appearances. But
Mhm.
that in a season where things aren't going right on the field, show the things that are going right off the field as much as you can. And is it going to make up for all of it? No, but at least you show you're getting the wins somewhere.
Yeah, for real, for real. So talk about things going off the field, off and on the field. Let's also talk about Darren's post game interview. That's been kind of the talk of the town on social medias and whatnot. So Matt, I'll let you take over because I wasn't there last night. I'll let you talk about it.
Well, I mean, I think you can chime in on this because you're going to have a different point of view from having watched it versus having been the person asking the questions. Yes. Well, I think to set the table with this, even going back to last year, I don't necessarily shy away from asking very direct questions at times. Would you say that that's
that's very
fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So, and Darren's kind of pushed back, a few times, like end of after the playoff game last year, asking him why 5 times during the course of the season, team went up a man and ended up giving up goals, and he seemed either surprised or unaware at that stat at that time, and try to brush it off and ask follow up, and I don't know, he didn't love that, didn't seem to love it in the moment, which is fine. Yeah. And to preface all of this, like none of this for me is ever personal. It's just trying to get information, and I form a lot of my questions based off of what I hear in the stand of people saying, so that way we can be able to at least get some information back to the fans, because as we've stated ad nauseum on this podcast, as much as we love the team is very, very, very bad about getting information out to fans about what's going on with the team itself. So I kind of see this as a little bit of duty to try to at least get a little bit in there. So you can imagine last night more unhappiness in the stands. People ask, wondering about why are we making these subs? What's the point? Some of these choices, like, more than a few questions, like, hey, do you think Darren should be coming back next year? Do you think he's going to get fired? And my personal opinion, no, I don't think he's going to get fired. Yes, I think he has earned a shot to be able to get another year at this. But I'm not putting my own personal thoughts or opinions into these questions most of the time. I'm still human, fit in there sometimes. Right. But yeah, I try to be as objective as possible.
Very much.
So I think we always lead off, the press conferences, the team, communication staff asks their questions, which are fine. You can probably figure out what those questions usually are because they're the answers that end up in the post game reports and everything. Cool, whatever. And then there's somebody else, whether it's from the Times Dispatch, although they haven't been seen in a couple months, or there's any other kind of independent media there. We usually let them go first, and we'll go last. On these things, right? Which again, no problem with. I think it's just kind of a system we've all worked out, right?
Yeah.
So we get to that, and first question, I think is just very direct, about why take off, Gamera, why take off, Hornsby, last sub was Bentley off for Meacham, like. These don't seem like the kind of subs you make when you're chasing a game, because one of his previous answers was, we're still trying to win these games. Our goal was coming in was 9 points. Now it's going to be 6 points. And it's like, to the fans, those don't seem to match.
Yeah.
So he talked around that. Right. So we went into some other questions, but Elliot, you caught on to this. He said something in that first response.
Yeah. He said it. I think you were asking him the question about it was something around like youth development or something. And he said, if we're lucky enough to be around, I would love the opportunity to build upon what we're doing here. And then later in the interview, you asked him a question. It was like, well, do you think it's fair for you to stay given how the season has been developing, the end part of the season?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
rightfully so.
I asked if he thought that, him and the staff had earned, the chance to come back.
And it seemed to be like a little bit of pushback from him on that. Almost, granted, he might have been caught off guard by the question or didn't know how to answer in the moment. But I think it's a fair question because the godsend of this is we're not in the league with relegation. If we have been in relegation form since June, and if this team is in a league with relegation, like we've seen it before, like no coach is getting a 14-game skid. It would have been automatically cut right then and there, at the start of it. Or even we look out of the playoffs. His response to it was kind of just like, well, we deserve a second chance. We're doing the right thing, just that, the third. And I get that from Darren. Oh, no, and I would say this in the defense of Darren. Like, I do think he deserves another year at this. Because I think 30% of it you can put on him and the staff. 50% of it I would put on the players because they're the ones on the field that can affect the game, right? And then the other 20% of stuff that's like out of your control. Injuries and, bad chances or bad mishaps with the ball. Like last night.
The bad luck side.
Yeah, the bad luck side of it. Like, because last night, like, do you really think that's a penalty on Sierakowski?
I mean, it was soft. I mean, you've seen them given before. So, like, once I was able to go back and see it watched it a couple times, I was like, I get what the referee was seeing and calling, but you've seen it called a million times. You just also seen that let go a million times too. So it's really, for me, a coin flip.
Yeah, it's a coin, right. And you get a different rep on that moment. He might not call it. He might call it. But it's like we've also seen it before against like Lexington, right? We've on this list, we talked about there's numerous games where this team, if they play better defense, we walk like the Charlotte game, we walk out of that one and win. The Flago game, we walk out of that one and win. The Chattanooga game, we walk out of that one and win. Oddly enough, we might still be in the playoff race, but we're not because of individual errors and individual moments. Now, saying all of that with Darren, like I think he has done a wonderful job of revitalizing the youth system in Richmond to where now is like they're bringing in prospects that can legitimately be a part of the team, right? It's not just, they're here so that way they can say they played a little bit so they can get better college scouting and eventually end up in VCU or UNC, whatever.
Yeah, they're not just bodies filling up slots in practice because you need guys to make up the numbers.
Right. So it's like on that side, that's fine. That's dandy. My frustration comes with Darren's response to, well, it's a long-term project. And, if anyone's frustrated, it's definitely us and our staff, which is cool. We expect you to be frustrated, right? But don't tell me you're building and you're still trying to compete for wins this year when you got 4 impact subs that are under the age of 18. Like, just call it what it is. Just say it's a rebuild and just keep it pushing. Like, the fans, we will hate it, right? For the moment, if you say, oh, it's a rebuild. But we will understand it and we will get the logic of it versus you saying, oh, it's a long-term project, but we're still competing for wins. Well, you can't be competing for wins if you go look at the substitution pack, right?
Yeah, and one thing that it just kind of came to mind in the last day or two with all of this because none of this was new, and I of course I didn't expect Darren to answer that question with, yeah, we should probably get fired. Like, of course nobody's going to say that.
No,
no. So, but let's think about this. We started the first half of the year 6 wins, 6 draws, 4 defeats, right?
Yeah.
So were we in the long-term project? then at that time, and also with the youth when things were rolling. Do we ever really see those guys playing?
No.
No.
You might see Beckett here and there in the last seconds of a game.
Yeah, Gabe getting like 2 minutes,
Right.
Somewhere, but
You didn't see Simmons. You didn't see
Simmons and Johnson
Cox.
weren't even with the team yet.
Yeah, no.
So it's like something changed along the way. Sure, maybe it is those guys finally became ready to play later in the year. I can listen to that answer.
Yeah.
But beginning of the year, all the other guys were more than capable, and guess what? We were actually getting results at that time.
Yeah.
So it seems like a little bit of conflict, in how the answers are being presented.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. You want to protect your players, you want to protect the staff as a whole, but it's also like just I guess for me, it's just be honest about what's happening.
Right,
Like,
called a lost season. Hey, we're playing the guys that we want to, see if we can build around them for next year. Cool.
right. And we will understand that. We're not dumb. But it's also like in terms of that, you have like just think about it. You no longer have Luke Pavone around the starting 18, right? Belmar no longer around the starting 18, or Wayne Gordon around the starting 18. Like
Except for
these are
last year,
guys
when
that
Belmar randomly starts, and
right, and they were at practice on Friday, so they're there, they're healthy. But you decide to go with Landon Johnson, Nicholas Simmons, and some younger guys. Like you can't say, all right, we're trying to win every single game and do that. Like you can't have your cake and eat it too. And it just seems as if like they're being reluctant of calling it what it is, but when the fans can see it, it's also feel like the fans are losing trust in Darren's vision because I would say maybe even so back in August when we were having a bad run of form, it was
that was the same run of form, my man.
I mean, yeah, we were in yeah, you're right. But it just seems as if like all the goodwill Darren has built up is now starting to get chipped away because one of results and fans are temperamental, but then also two is like when you're hearing the post game chats, when you're hearing the pre-game chats, it's like the same message. And it's like, oh, just follow us, just listen to what we got to say. And it's like, dude, no, I can see that this is not what it is, right?
Yeah.
Just be honest about
it. Yeah, it's a little bit. It's always going to be coach speak, and I think that's to be expected. Anybody who's a sports fan is
yeah.
expects to get a little bit of a canned answer and non-answers, quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, the season is what it is. Like we were asking questions about, like, all right, well, it seems like playoffs aren't on the horizon a couple months ago, and as he should have, Darren, like, well, hey, until we're actually eliminated, we're going to be gunning for it, which is the right answer.
Right.
It's the right answer, and it's also the right answer.
Yeah.
To give in that moment, because we were already looking ahead, asking, hey, are you going to be playing the kids more and everything? Which guess what happened? Which again, fine if that's what the mission is. Just be upfront.
Yeah. Just say, hey, we're trying. Like you said it before. Like if you heard him talking other parts, it's like I think you asked the question about the veteran players. About the subject, he was like, we have veteran players in spots, the lack of goals, the lack of opportunities. No, it was about Pablo Hara about why wasn't
didn't make a save.
Yeah, he wasn't tested. And he was like, well, those veteran players that we had out there, weren't really testing. So that's what we tried to bring on Nicholas Simmons, who scored a goal, and Landon Johnson and whatnot, which is cool. That's fine. But I also feel as if like the veteran players are kind of being like, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you feel like the veteran players are being scapegoated a little bit in this?
I don't know if scapegoat is the right word for it. I think that they're not what the coaching staff wanted or hoped for. So they've probably already been, if not truly mutually decided. I think both parties probably know some of those guys aren't coming back next year. So it's kind of just running out the clock. with some of them. I would put it more that way because I think if it was scapegoated, we'd be getting a lot more specifics. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Darren's still dancing around, you know the full issue with some of them because it's not just the veteran. I think veteran gives the idea that you're talking Belmar, Gordon, and maybe Luke, but he's so on the fringe anyway that I don't even know if he counts. But I mean, I think you can throw Bentley in, with the that crowd. Like I guess Sierakowski maybe gets a little bit more, you know, benefit because he came in later and he's actually put some stuff on the score sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, you're
The
right.
other thing with that question for me was I had to catch myself because I was getting ready to say, didn't test Pablo Hara, and I just wanted, how I feel about Pablo. I
Oh
was getting
yeah.
ready. I was getting ready to say, who isn't a good keep, but I was like, that's probably not going to be a good thing to say out loud right now.
No,
So
no.
had to quickly change that.
I mean, no, I mean, and the fairness of it is like Derek can only pick who's available, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you can only pick who's available, and I've said this before, you have to change how you play. Like, if you know Bentley is not a creative scorer type player like Emmy is, you can't play him in that role, right? If you know you don't have wingers that are reliable and creating chances and getting in behind, you can't play out on the wings like how you want to, right? Like if you know you don't, if your defense has been leaky and hasn't been able to have a clean sheet since July 1st, then maybe hey, we need to clog that up. And it just feels as if you know Darren is kind of just like, nah, we're going to play the system that we have in place, and it just feels like he's choosing system over the players. In some point, which that's long term thinking. I get that, but in the short term, it's like, all right, we got to fix this now, and maybe when you're in that midst of trying to still compete for the playoffs back in like July and August, you know, you can do that. You can do that. But now, I don't know, man. Like it just feels as if like they're just banging their head up against the door and it's not doing anything.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about silver linings from this game because
Yeah, true.
there's one big silver lining out of this, and that Tormenta got 3 points. Madison dropped points against Lexington, so all of a sudden, yeah, our favorite team is clinging on to a playoff spot, and they're not going to have the tiebreaker if it ends up tied.
I know. That's my chaos dream. My chaos dream is that like Union Omaha, NCFC, Greenville, Madison all crash and burn in some way in the playoffs. And I just want it to happen. I don't want anyone to be happy outside of us and Mocha. Um, but yeah, real quick, another silver lining. EVD Ethan Vandercourt Decker made his long-awaited return. 51 weeks out since his devastating Achilles injury, man. And I would say, man, I'm happy for him. Just making it back is huge. Like, I don't care about if he made a pass or anything. Just getting back on there, that's huge.
Yeah, he got himself stuck in, got himself a nice yellow card too. So
Yeah, he did. He did. For
who
sure.
knows? You know, who knows how last season ends if he had hadn't gotten hurt? Who knows how this season goes if he had been available all year? And that's just part of the bad luck of the draw with sports. Sometimes. But yeah, really happy for him to be able to get back. He was saying how it was tough those first few months where he literally couldn't get around, couldn't move because he had to reteach himself how to walk, everything like that. Like I can't imagine the kind of mental stress you have to go through with something that just as a regular everyday person, much less somebody who's an athlete who their livelihood is completely built around movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to see him come all the way back, and I did look like vintage EVD. No, not yet, but that's okay. I mean, the big first step is finished now, and now it's kind of getting him up to speed, and hopefully maybe he'll be back. I hope he'll be back here next year if we put all this time into rehabbing him.
Yeah, I will hope so. I will hope so. That's my hope. That's definitely my hope. So, I mean, we got 2 games left. One Knox on the road on Friday, and we close out the season against Central Valley Fuego at 6 p.m. For me possibly, I want to see Will play the last 2 games. I would honestly, I want to see Meacham. I want to see what Meacham got. Like, I know the last time we really seen him play significant minutes, he had a little bad stretch, and he doesn't seem to have gotten out of the doghouse yet. But I want to see him play some meaningful minutes. I'm going to see Beckett Howe play some meaningful minutes. Landon Johnson's kind of funny. Ever since he signed his pro contract, he's barely been playing. I want to see him get meaningful minutes. EVD, of course. Yeah.
You know yeah. Seeing how I think there's a decent chance it might be his last game. Want to see Luke out there last home game?
I hope so, man. If this is it for Luke, I want Luke to get his flowers. I want Luke to get his flowers, man.
Yeah, so simple things like that. We know what the season is at this point. Let that be kind of a. If there's any guys that know they're moving on, let that kind of be a celebration for them. But otherwise, let's see what we got for 24.
Yeah. And we said it before, like if this team wins the last game, it's gonna be this whole celebration. I'm like, oh, we won a game, but it's like even we, as much as we hate it, we're gonna celebrate it because it's like, oh, the team won. The good vibes are here.
Yeah, we still want the team to win every game, right?
Yeah,
yeah. That's not going to change, but yeah, I mean,
it shouldn't take the message that truly should happen.
Right. It shouldn't gloss over the fact that the last 3 months have happened.
Right. So yeah, Matt. My bad. Anything else for you before we wrap up today's show?
No, I mean, I think again, even in the worst of times, no place better to be than City Stadium, especially with a lot of people there. A lot of fun. So I mean, obviously, even more fun when we're winning. But major credit to the sales crew, the ticket crew, all of those guys and girls, because hey, City Stadium I think has really turned around. It's kind of a place to be. The last couple of years, and especially this year, and they deserve that credit because we've heard people saying, oh yeah, been around, we never really thought to come to these before. They're a lot of fun, and we're going to come back again. And for as much as we're getting on the coaching staff, we got to give the positive credit where it's due, and I think the ops staff and the sales staff absolutely earned it.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%, man.
And then I know, and come out on the 14th. I don't care if it's folk festivals. Go there during the day, and then come over for a couple hours and go back after.
Yeah, it's VSU homecoming, dog. But I'm gonna try to make it there. I'm trying to make it. My original plan was to miss this last game because I thought we were gonna have a playoff game, but then that play didn't happen. So, ta-da! I'm gonna be coming back early from VSU homecoming to close out City Stadium for this year and move on to next year. Once again, I will blame the jerseys for everything.
I'm in. I'm in.
I'm totally down with it. But for that being said, listeners, just want to say thank you once again for taking the time out of your day to listen to our show, because without you, we couldn't do this. Interview with Mika will be going out on Tuesday. And with that being said, for Matt, for Janier, Gabe, Kate, and myself, we will holler at you guys next week. Up the ruse and be easy, y'all.